Welcome to my cooking show, The Natural Cook. I'm Anna Gershenson. Today, I am very excited to introduce to you my old friend Quinoa. I met Quinoa in the late 90s when I was working for the Whole Foods market. It was a very exciting introduction. I learned that it was a very nutritious grain. It's actually not a grain, it's a seed, but because we cook it like a grain, so it's considered a grain. I also learned that it has a very strange name. You really have a hard time pronouncing it. So when I was talking about it to my customers, they couldn't understand what it was until they really got the knack of it. However, by 2008, when Oprah introduced it to her show, it went viral. So today we are going to talk about quinoa, and I'm going to show you how to cook it two ways. It's going to be cooked hot, eaten as a hot dish, where you can either eat it by itself or you can eat it as an accompaniment to your protein. However, it has all 9 essential amino acids, so it is a complete protein, and you don't have to worry that you need to eat a protein when you eat quinoa. So first, let's talk about how you cook it. The good thing about quinoa is that it cooks in 20 minutes. So you really don't need a lot of time to have it ready and to be consumed. However, it needs to be washed first. So I already have my pot here and it's cooked, but I will take you through the steps of how you start cooking quinoa if you've never cooked it before. You take quinoa and you put it into a strainer. Like I have this little strainer here. You can put a cup of quinoa here and rinse it under running water. The thing is that quinoa naturally is coated with protective coating that is bitter, so that birds wouldn't be eating it. However, now that it's so widely available, they are processing it in a way that it's not bitter anymore, but I recommend to wash it anyway. So once you wash your quinoa and you drain it, then you measure the water. Usually in recipes, you will find that for 1 cup of quinoa, you use 2 cups of water. I actually use 1 3/4 cups of water because I find that if you use 2 cups, then quinoa gets too soggy. And I want it to retain its crunch because I like its texture. And so I cook it 1 3/4 cups of water. So then you put it in cold water and you bring it to boil. And once it comes to boil, you add 1 teaspoon of salt and then reduce the heat. You want quinoa to cook very gently. In general, when you are cooking things, unless you're cooking pasta, you really want to have very gentle, peaceful energy. So your food will be also peaceful and lovely. And then in 20 minutes, you cover it. And in 20 minutes, you go to check it. And you open the lid. And then you take a fork and you turn it around. And you see that there is no water. If you see that there is still a little moisture left, and you will hear, if you can increase heat, you will hear this kind of hissing sound, then you know the water is still there. You can cover it again and finish cooking. And then once it's cooked, I like taking a towel and covering it so that the steam, all the moisture is going to be absorbed into the towel, and the quinoa has a chance to kind of fluff up. And so then I would cover it and just let it sit if I want to use it hot. If I want to use it cold, unless you use it the next day, I would take my baking sheet and I would dump quinoa onto the baking sheet, just like that. Okay, and then I'll spread it out, and you see that each grain basically is separate. And then you can either just cool it or you can season it a little bit. You can grate some lemon zest on it and add butter if you like butter, or better to just have, you know, some kind of neutral oil, like maybe grapeseed or avocado oil. And then you can put it away into a container, and your quinoa is going to be there for a week. You can keep it for a week, and you can decide when you want to eat it and what you want to throw into it in order to make your next meal. Quinoa comes in 3 colors. You probably saw it at the market that it can be white, it can be black, or it can be red. Red quinoa is crunchier, and of course, if you use it in a salad with colorful vegetables, you might want to use red quinoa. It will look really lovely. Black quinoa looks beautiful as well, and it cooks a little longer. So today, as you see, I went with white quinoa. So while quinoa, let's set quinoa aside. And I'm going to show you what dish I prepared for you today. So then we'll have a chance maybe to talk more about quinoa. Today I decided to cook mushrooms. Mushrooms are very healthy food. It is, it's great food to build your immunity, for your metabolism. It's basically the only vegetable in the plant kingdom that has vitamin D. It has selenium that is very helpful for fighting cancer, bladder cancer. So you can use any mushrooms. There is a wide variety of mushrooms, and now they're cultivating also oyster mushrooms and shiitake mushrooms and even maitake mushrooms, which are higher in these compounds. So first you want to wash them, because mushrooms are grown in dirt. So you want to make sure that you don't consume this dirt. So I'm dumping my mushrooms into a bowl of water. And I'm going to swish them around, and don't wash them until before you're ready to cook them, because you don't want them to be soaked. Mushrooms have a lot of liquid, you know, they are full of water as it is. So you don't want to add too much extra water. So I am cleaning them, making sure that all the dirt is dislodged. And then I have another bowl, and I lined it with paper towel. So I'm going to put the mushrooms, clean mushrooms, into the other bowl. And I'm going to dry them up. So when we are going to start cooking mushrooms, you will see that all that moisture that's in mushrooms is being released. So at that point, I will cover them with a lid, because I want to speed up their cooking, and I also want them to kind of, you know, soak in that flavorful liquid that they release. All right. So before we deal with mushrooms, before we cook them, I would like to show you what I'm going to be garnishing them with. It's really a very, very simple dish. It doesn't take much time to prepare. I'm going to garnish with persillade. Persillade is a French term for this garnish that is chopped parsley and chopped garlic. It's persil and I together, persillade. You can also use gremolata, which is, of course, an Italian word, and it's mostly used for ossobuco, but it also adds lemon zest, another flavoring, which is very beautiful and will go very nicely with your mushrooms. So I will press on the garlic clove to release the skin, and then I cut it in half. If there is a germ, I take it out because it could be bitter. And then I will mince the garlic, and then we chop the parsley and we combine them together, and it will be nice flavoring for our mushrooms. So let me put the mushrooms to cook. Let's heat up the skillet, and we'll put mushrooms to cook while I'm chopping it, not to waste time. Okay, so let's move this a little bit to the side. We will cut mushrooms into chunks. They are not going to be too small or too big, so that we have a nice bite. So mushrooms, I'm trying to include mushrooms into my diet as much as I can. They are very delicious, and also, as you know, they are full of wonderful nutrients. They have fiber, and they go very nicely with thyme. If you want to flavor it, thyme is another nice flavoring to go with mushrooms. Mushrooms can also go with quinoa into a frittata that you might want to make some Sunday morning, and your frittata can be served hot or cold. Yes, speaking about quinoa, since quinoa is really the queen of the show today. Quinoa is full of flavonoids and minerals and vitamins. It has B vitamins, it has phosphorus and magnesium and manganese and iron, all the minerals that your body needs. Okay, so let's slick some olive oil. We don't want the skillet to be too hot, so that olive oil doesn't burn and retains its flavor. And now we're going to add our mushrooms to the pan. And while mushrooms are cooking, we are going to make our persillade, and then we are going to flavor. So when the mushrooms start cooking, they are going to release the liquid, and the longer they cook, the firmer they get. We are going to salt them a little bit, and I will cover them. I don't have a lid, so I'll just improvise, and I'll cover with this bowl, and you can hear how they are cooking. The sizzling is going on. Okay, now back to our garlic. So when mushrooms are ready, I'm going to be just throwing in the garlic and parsley. I'm not really going to be cooking it much. So the flavor is going to be really pronounced. If you want the flavor to be softer, then you would want to cook it a little longer, depending on how sharp your garlic is. And by the way, the garlic, the finer you cut it, the stronger the flavor is released. So if your garlic is a paste, then it will taste very strongly, and you know, as the garlic is cooking, it mellows and it softens. And of course, you can also roast garlic and make it you know, like roasted. By putting it in the oven with a little olive oil and cook it in foil, and then you can just squeeze the garlic cloves, and they will be soft and delicious and yummy. So you see, our mushrooms are cooking pretty fast, and our persillade is almost ready. I need to chop my parsley. Speaking about parsley, when you buy a bunch of parsley, the first thing I do is I release the tye that is tied around the stems before I put it in the refrigerator, because it really does not allow the stems to ventilate and it can start rotting. And of course, parsley is a hardier herb, but in terms of, you know, softer herbs, like for example cilantro that starts rotting very quickly, I think it's a very good trick. So here I try to chop it really, really fine. Also for persillade, you want to wash the parsley and dry it in your salad spinner, and then maybe even to put it on some paper towels, because you don't want the persillade, the parsley, to be wet for the persillade. Okay, so our persillade is close to being ready, and our mushrooms are cooking nicely. So now I want to tell you about quinoa. If you have quinoa in the refrigerator and it's cold, and you want to use it in a hot dish, so what you are going to do is you are going to take the skillet and put as much quinoa as you want for your meal, and then just add a little bit of water, or if you have stock in the refrigerator, you can add a little bit of the stock and cover it and put it over medium heat. And then that liquid and the steam that comes with it, that is evaporating, is going to heat your quinoa through and make it really hot. Okay, now that our persillade is ready, let's check our mushrooms again. They look beautiful. The liquid has evaporated. I'm going to move it into a bowl. Actually, what we can do now, we can already add our quinoa to it. We don't have to move it. I'll take some of the quinoa and add it to the skillet, but not before I add my persillade. Mix it together. Add the quinoa. Okay. Now I can season it. I can add some freshly ground pepper, which in itself also has wonderful flavonols that are healthy for you and adds fantastic flavor. I personally love black pepper, and I add it to very many dishes. Okay, now it smells so good here. Mushroom smell is so earthy and inviting, and it makes you feel really hungry. Okay, our dish is ready. We can plate it now. Okay. All right. You want to taste it. It tastes earthy and refreshing. I will grate a little bit of Parmesan. It will add to the richness. I also will drizzle a little bit of olive oil to make it a little richer and also more nutritious. And then our meal is ready. The Parmesan will melt into the quinoa. You might want to put a little sprig of parsley on top. You might want to drizzle with some lemon juice as well, and your dish is done. Let's clean up and take a little break. Now we are going to make our quinoa salad. The weather is getting warmer, and you want to have in your head some foods that you can throw together and enjoy cold. So there are going to be a lot of fruit and vegetables that are going to be going into the salad. Actually, it's mostly herbs. I love throwing a lot of herbs into the salad. So I chose mango. You peel mango, and then you, as you can see, I already released it from the pit. However, you just go around it like that, and that's how you will cut it out. So you don't need it anymore. You can suck on it later. It's delicious. And then you are going to make thin cuts. The quinoa is a very small grain, so you want vegetables to also, fruits and vegetables to be also cut in a very small dice. So you are going to cut it nicely like this after you cut it parallel and do a very small dice. Okay, now with quinoa, you will use also kiwi that is very high in vitamin C, very delicious, and I'm sure has a lot of other phytonutrients. So I'm releasing this very hard end that is not edible, and then I peel it like that with my hand, rotating it. In the meantime, I have already peeled one, and I'm going to show you how you cut it parallel to the board into thin slices, and then you're going to cut perpendicular. Don't cut all the way to the end because it's going to help you hold it together. Done. Okay, and now I chose for herbs parsley, cilantro, basil. You can put mint there. So in order to chop parsley, you will want to just gather it into your hands like a tight bunch, and then cut it nicely and hold tight, and make sure that your fingers, that your nails are not sticking out, but your knuckle is against the knife. And then you might want to cut it even finer. I want to show you how I'm cutting basil. Basil is a very, very gentle herb, so you will have a very hard time. It's very silky, cutting it in a way that we cut tougher herbs like parsley. So you're going to roll it like a cigarette, and then cut it into julienne. And you might want to chop it a little finer after that. Scallion is in the onion family, and anything from the onion family is great for our health. It has a lot of fighting components. So we are going to also get some scallion going here. You could use chives, you can use mint. Cilantro goes very nicely with it as well. I have a cilantro plant. Cilantro will go together with its stems. The stems have nice flavor, and I'm not going to throw them away. So chop cilantro. As you see, today we're having these lovely, lovely flavors. It's going to be strewn with fresh herbs, and you're going to bite every time into a different herb that will release its aroma and flavor. And so you're killing two birds with one stone. You are doing it for health and for nutrition, and as well as for delicious flavor. Okay, our quinoa is cold. This is my favorite way of mixing it. I'm throwing everything on top of my quinoa. Mango, kiwi, fresh herbs. I chopped some jalapeno without seeds, scallions. Everything goes on top, as well as whatever I chopped here. Okay. Now I chose lime. You can also do lemon. Zest some lime. Lime zest has all the oils that are going to perfume your salad. Okay. squeeze some juice. After you roll the lime, the juice will come out easily. Lime doesn't have as many seeds, so it's nice. Pepper, salt, a little bit of olive oil. And now you're ready to mix it together and, of course, taste it. Without tasting food, you don't know if you like it. You don't know if it's going to be as good as you want it to be. Also, don't forget that salt releases all the flavors. If you feel that something is missing, you might want to add more lime juice and more salt. This is actually quite good. Greens go on the plate, and salad on top. Okay. Quite lovely, yummy, refreshing, and healthy. If you want to find the recipe for this delicious salad, please visit my Facebook. I would love to hear from you how you had, whether you had an easy time doing it, if you have any questions. I would love to have your feedback. I also want to show you how I am preparing my knives when I am cutting them. Yes, and also there is one more ingredient that I can put on top of this, which is if you want to have the salad vegan or then you don't want to put cheese on it, but it will add nice creaminess. So we're going to take some of this lovely goat cheese with herbs and just sprinkle it over. And it will add some lusciousness, some soft flavor that comes together with a crunchy quinoa is going to just melt in your mouth and add to the deliciousness of this salad. Your knife is the most important tool in your kitchen. And the most important thing about your knife is that it has to be sharp. So it's important to sharpen your knives professionally twice a year. However, every time when you start working with a knife, you need your steel. This is where it is handy. Your steel on the knife has teeth, and you want to make sure to hone your knife to even the teeth so that it really has a very, very nice edge. And then you can start working. Please don't forget to do this. So today, you saw how I put together quinoa together with kiwi, mango, with mint, that you could have added basil, cilantro. However, it's up to you to flavor it the way you want it. You can give it Mediterranean flavor. You can use feta and tomatoes and cucumbers and oregano. And so do it the way you want. So this is it for today. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Please come and visit our page on Facebook and let me know what your questions are. See you soon. Bye.